Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us here for the Jupiter in Cancer Roundtable. We have 7, including myself, intuitive astrologers here today to support you through this transition of this planetary giant into the waters of Cancer. Um, I am so grateful for the opportunity to be a Sky Scholar, to be here repping Virginia Rosenberg, and to be working along my fellow graduates here today to bring you what's hopefully a beautiful and enlightening call. And to get us started, our heart is going to drop us in.
Thank you, thank you, Auburn. I'm so excited to be here. Okay, so let's just find a comfortable position for your body. Just taking some time to settle in. However feels good for you, sitting on a chair, sitting on the floor. And just beginning to connect to your breath. Closing your eyes or lowering your gaze, whichever feels good to you in this moment. And so as we begin to arrive in this sacred space together, just bringing more awareness to your breath as it begins to move effortlessly through your body. And just noticing for a moment, there's no need to change anything, just simply being with the breath as it moves organically, just like a wave. And as you're ready, beginning to deepen and lengthen that breath. So inhaling all the way up to the crown of the head, pausing at the top before a full body exhale all the way down through to the soles of the feet. Pausing at the bottom, and then slowly inhaling all the way back up to the crown of the head. And just doing this for a few more breaths on your own. And as we begin to soften into this space together, beginning to feel the ground beneath you. The steadiness that is always here. And as you gently breathe into your body, on the exhale, releasing anything that you don't need to carry in this moment. And so here in this moment, here in this circle, here in yourself, we gather under the wave of Jupiter's entrance into Cancer. And we enter a space of remembrance, a time when ancient wisdom stirs through our blood, through our bones, a time when the soul calls us home. Cancer is the sign of the waters of intuition, ancestry, nourishment, and emotional truth. And Jupiter expands what it touches. And so these waters rise within us now, calling us to feel more deeply, to tend more compassionately, to create space for the sacred. And so together, let's open this field with reverence, with respect. And on your next breath, just taking a moment to feel your own energetic field, the space just beyond your skin, the subtle shell of your being. And with your breath, just beginning to draw back your energy to yourself. And let it gather here softly, lovingly, and clearly. And now imagine a luminous membrane surrounding you. Perhaps it shimmers like moonlight, or it feels like the inside of a seashell. This is your container. This is your protection. This is your temple. May you feel safe here, held, open but not porous, present but not overwhelmed. Reconnecting to your breath. And so we open this circle in honor of the Great Mother, in devotion to the waters of life, of memory, of healing. And we open the circle to the wisdom that wants to come through each of us in ways that we may not expect, in languages we may have forgotten. But the soul remembers. May what is shared here nourish your heart. May it inspire your path. And may it return you to something sacred within yourself. And here is where we begin. Taking a moment to breathe deeply into your body, allowing your fingertips and your toes to wiggle awake. And any other gentle stretches that animate your body to come back into this space together for this call of Jupiter in Cancer. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Anharit. That was so beautiful. I feel so nourished already. Let's go ahead. I'd love to get everybody introduced to all of our panelists. So I'm going to see how many of us I can pin here. My name is Auburn Lilly. I've been working with Virginia since about 2020. And I've been a student of astrology for longer than that. And it is such an honor to be here today with each of you, especially with my fellow Sky Scholars. So I'd love for us to just go around one by one. Maybe let's start with Emily, and so that you can get to know all of us before we share our offerings with you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily King. I've been working behind the scenes with Virginia and Auburn for about 3 years now. I help with creative writing and social media and the cosmic calendar, of course. And it's been so nice to be able to be a little bit more front-facing in these past few months. And I live with my husband in Massachusetts. We recently just moved back in with my parents as we search for a home. So it's very Jupiter and Cancer themed for me. And I love connecting with clients one-on-one who are exploring matters of family and depth and history, and I really feel like I found my niche in this past year or so in like spiritual guidance in astrology. So I'm very happy to be here with all of you.
Love. Thank you so much, Emily. Maybe Anna next.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Anna Halper. I'm an evolutionary astrologer and an astrologer in Virginia's network, and just feeling super grateful to be here today. This is such a dream, and I love talking about Jupiter especially. Um, and yeah, I love talking about like past life karma. I love talking about ancestral astrology and just like the evolutionary journey of the soul. That's really like my wheelhouse. I love just talking about that with people. And I live in Western North Carolina, and I have a sweet family here. I have a sweet 2-year-old son, and we just have so much fun and always playing outside and just going on so many adventures. So that's what I like to do. And yeah, I love being here with my other colleagues as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to hear more from you. Let's do Anharid.
Hey everyone, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you all for being here too. So my name is Anharid Picton. I'm an intuitive astrologer, spiritual guide, grief alchemist, and international pilgrimage leader. My work weaves the past, present, and future, supporting others through emotional thresholds, through grief, through spiritual remembrance, to uncover their legacy that they're here to live. Virginia and I met, like, ironically, I just realized this yesterday, we met like 12 years ago, which when Jupiter was in Cancer, last time on a Koya retreat in Costa Rica. And we actually did our Koya teacher training together. And this was actually the first retreat that I had received an astrology reading. So, you just can't make this kind of synchronicity up. And there was just something in me that just stirred. It was just something really ancient that I'd been searching for, but I didn't know that I was searching for it, And so for several years, Virginia continued to read for me. And then I finally felt called to kind of study the stars, the living sky. And I knew that she was going to be the one that I wanted to learn from. And so I've studied through the Sky Scholar program. I've served it as a TA, and now I'm part of the referral network. And so now much of my astrology work has been born from a deeply personal journey through grief and loss. And it's really been a sacred unraveling of a body of work and a legacy that I really didn't want to really dive into, but it was a call. And so I also lead spiritual tours to places like Peru and Egypt, and really just help people awaken this ancient truth within themselves, and blending that grief alchemy within that. I'm a mother to an awesome 17-year-old daughter who continues to be my greatest teacher. And we live in St. Paul, Minnesota. And it's just such an honor to be here, especially under these Jupiterian in Cancer skies. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
How mystical and literal. I love it. Let's do Pawnee next. Thank you, Anharid.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much to Inherit as well, because this intro was so soothing, and I tried to release as best as I could the cold that I'm fighting this week. So we'll see how that develops. But it's really nice to be here. My name is Pani, and my professional alias is Doroteo. I'm based in Europe between London and my native Bulgaria. And I use astrology to create a safe, imaginative space for you to get to know yourself, get to know your strengths, your desires, and your most aligned path. And then I fuse that with life coaching to support your self-actualization in actually walking that path forward. Um, and I'm so excited to bring in that lens of how this energy of Jupiter and Cancer can really support us this year to hopefully live our best lives.
Love. Thank you so
Mm.
much, Connie. So blessed to have you here. Let's hear from Alexandra next.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you, and it's such an honor to be here. I am an astrologer, obviously. I'm also from Germany and do readings in German and English. And I've been so blessed to get to teach with Virginia, like as a TA, for many years now. And I've been certified both by Virginia and by Rising Woman's Mystic Astrology. And yeah, I love to teach people about astrology, how to use astrology to make their wishes come true, build a good life, and to give people guidance in general via teachings or readings. So I'm so excited to get to teach you today a little bit. So yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
Amazing. Oh, your wisdom is so rich. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Christina, let's hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here. It's a dream come true to be sitting with you guys and everyone else on this panel today. I'm so excited. My name is Christina Ganong. I am located in the beautiful Pacific Northwest of Canada, up in Squamish, British Columbia. I'm nestled in the forest right by the riverside, and it is beautiful up here today. I live with my husband and my little girl. She just turned 4. I've been studying astrology since I was a little girl, and I officially made my astrology education official in 2022 with Virginia, and I've taken all 3 levels of her Sky Scholar schoolings, and it has really returned me back to my roots, back to my calling, to what I'm here to do. I'm also an energy healer, Reiki master practitioner, and I weave my astrology education and my intuitive knowing into that practice. And I help people with self-discovery, inner work, shadow work, and Chiron is one of my specialties. And I like to deep dive with my clients with Chiron and help people understand their gifts and their wounds and what they're here to work through in this life. And yeah, I work with subtle energies. I read the subtle energies that are around, including animal totems and numerology. And I take all of that information and kind of help decode and transmute messages in the present moment. And yeah, I'm just very excited to share the journal prompts later today with you guys. And I'm just happy to be here and to listen to Jupiter's medicine.
What a panel. I am so excited to be here with everyone. We are going to get things started with our presentation. We're going to kind of weave in and out of a presentation style format today. So Alexandra is going to get us kicked off with really meeting Jupiter and meeting Cancer as archetypes, and then we'll drop into some transmissions from our panel. So I am so excited to begin. Just get my Sweet. We're here. So Jupiter in Cancer begins today. Just a little while after we hop off of this call, Jupiter in Cancer begins. Virginia titled this transit, Grow Your Nest Egg. And we'll be hearing from 4 of the astrologers on our panel today about their transmissions, really what's coming through for them when it comes to Jupiter in Cancer. And then we'll be walking our way through some sign by signs after we take a little break. We're going to be doing some journaling together. I'm going to introduce you to all the astrologers on our network, and then we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A. So I'm so excited to begin, and I'm going to pass things over to Alexandra.
Hi, thank you so much, Auburn. Love this. Okay, so let's get started. Who or what is Jupiter? So I would love to start off by asking you what you already know about this big planet. So what do you know already about Jupiter? And some of you may know a lot, and some of you may know very little, and some of you may just be here for the ride. and all is welcome. Okay, I'm seeing some answers already. Lauren says, blessings, expansion. Yes, absolutely. Jupiter is known as the great benefic because one of the things that it does is it seeks to bless us. The expansion piece is also really important for Jupiter because Jupiter makes everything that it touches bigger. So whatever it touches in somebody's chart or in the sky in general, it expands. Like if there's an issue, it's way easier to see. But also if there's a blessing already, the blessing suddenly grows like really, really fast. So Jupiter brings the magnifying glass, which allows us to bring our life into a better direction. And also it naturally brings blessings and helps us do great things. I'm also seeing from Kyla abundance, growth, and luck. Yes, Jupiter is one of the planets we look to when it comes to money. What Jupiter does in the sky kind of like affects finances. Growth and luck are also very Jupiterian, specifically luck. And Jupiter just makes us generally a bit more lucky, which is a very nice thing to have. Yes, I'm reading expansion, growth, blessings, expansion. Big gaseous planet with Santa Claus energy. Yes, absolutely. I love that, Emily. Thank you. I'm also seeing from Jenna philosophies, adventures, and travel. Yes, Jupiter is one of the planets that asks us to sometimes literally, oftentimes metaphorically, go on an adventure. And it also helps us transform our lives into an adventure. And travel, specifically international travel, is one of its domains, and philosophy is one too, which we're going to cover later. Sometimes has the same force on Earth as the sun. Yes, that's amazing, Patrick. I love the astronomy in here. Okay, amazing. Then let's go to the slides. So Jupiter, on top of everything that we already said, Jupiter helps us figure out what the truth is, and it brings us a fractal lens of the truth by its transits going through the sky. So right now we're gonna see a Cancerian lens of the truth, which we will discuss later what that means. Other things that it kind of like governs are knowledge, natural law, opportunity, faith, myth, stories, seeking, journeys, discovery, perception, and kind of like it also shows us beyond the known, which we also have with faith and philosophies, like belief systems. That's very Jupiterian. Jupiter governs how we grow in general. And as we already said, Jupiter guides our expansion. It spends approximately 1 year in each sign. Like right now, it's from June 9th, 2025, and it goes all the way to June 30th, 2026. So it's almost 13 months, which means it's like a little bit longer. It's approximately 12 months each. 12 months in each sign. And every 12 years, it returns to where it was, which Anhart already shared one of her stories with us on this. Hey, amazing. Jupiter transits illuminate how we're growing, what we're discovering, knowledge we are gaining, where we're being stretched, and beautiful opportunities and possibilities, which also shows it makes us more lucky. Jupiter transits illuminate also what big questions move us through life at this point in time. How we trust, where we have faith, where we need to grow in trust and faith too, and what is meaningful, what we believe in, our values, and also what more we can see and be aware of. And that's kind of like this thing with Jupiter also shows us where there are issues, but it's always to bless us, and it gives us so many opportunities to bless us too. For the last year, Jupiter has been riding the winds of Gemini. And by doing so, it helped us expand our capacity to listen, to learn, because Gemini is about learning. And it helped us to bridge the dualities through dialogue and through finding meaning in having like polarized voices. It also awakened wisdom through word and wonder and curiosity. But now Jupiter's done with Gemini. As of today, this is the last day of Jupiter in Gemini. Now it goes into Cancer. So what does that mean? And we're going to start by asking again, what do you know already? What do you know about Cancer? Again, you may know a lot. You may know very little. You may not know anything at all. It's perfectly fine. All knowledge is welcome here. The nurturing mother energy. Yes, that's very much Cancer. Very much. Nurturing intuitive home. Yes, Cancer is one of the water signs, which means that it is very intuitive by nature. And it also signifies the home, which can be the literal physical home, and also the emotional places we find our home in. Sometimes it deals with like the home on a micro level of like, my apartment or my kitchen. And sometimes it's the macro level of the country I live in. And it also signifies the people we feel at home with. Yes, nurturing care, mother fertility. Yes, Cancer is so much about fertility in metaphorical ways because it shows us what we can nurture so that it grows, which is like metaphorically very fertile, and also physical fertility, which is not a topic that impacts everyone or is a topic that everybody wants to get into, but if they do, then Cancer symbolizes that. Mother emotions, caring in the heart. Yes, that's so beautiful, Lauren. Thank you so much for bringing this, especially in the heart. Cancer rules the emotional heart. Leo rules the physical heart. Cancer, the emotional one. Cancer feels like the mama, safety, comfort, the waters. Thank you so much, Jules. Yes, Cancer is very much about safety and protection. I'm also seeing woundly wisdom, nurturance, nourishment, belonging, what we protect and hold tenderly close to us. The cosmic womb, the great protector. The moon, yes, Cancer is ruled by the moon. It's very like cyclical in nature. Yeah. And preservation, comfort. Yes, Cancer very much loves its comfort, but from a place of just wanting to be safe, and creating comfort for others as well. Yeah, amazing. Ancestral wisdom, that's also a very good one. Wonderful. Shall we jump into the slides? Thank you so much. So everything on top of what we already said is Cancer governs feelings, devotion, empathy, defense. Cancer is the most defensive sign in the zodiac. It's kind of like it doesn't get out of its way to go ahead and like start a fight. Actually, Cancer is like the least likely sign to do that. But it's like if it feels threatened, if it feels like you're out to get that, then that's the sign that's like, okay, we're going to build the wall. We're going to put the electric fence on that wall. We're going to build the security system. We're going to get the guard dog. We're going to stick that guard dog on you, like everything that you really need to make sure that you stay safe and all the actions to stay safe. That is Cancer. Not only that, the second expression of Cancer is protecting others. So people who have a lot of Cancer often go into the army to defend their homeland, which is like very conflict driven. But the idea is, or like another great example is a mother defending its child. It's like, that's my baby. You just attack the baby. I'm going to freaking kill you. That is kind of like the Cancerian energy of like being so protective. Sensitivity is another really, really big sign of Cancer. It's the most sensitive sign of the zodiac, but it is a sensitivity that knows that it needs protection. So it's hard shell, soft inside. And that's why it's called Cancer, because it's like this crab image. We also have grief, love, especially familial love, bonding. Cancer is very much about our ability to bond versus holding ourselves away from bonding to protect ourselves. Tenderness, belonging, guidance, guardian, and shelter. And I love this. Cancer is the emotional anchor. And it absolutely is. So Jupiter is in Cancer from June 9th, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. And we're going to explain to you now how that works when we put two of these things together.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Alexandra, I just adore learning from you. I'm going to stop my screen share and we're going to come into circle. Hello. So we have 4 transmissions prepared for you today, and we're going to get things started with Connie.
All right, again. Whew. I really loved that, Alexandra. I loved the just getting the base notes of Jupiter and then of Cancer so that we can now put them together. And one of the main questions that came up for me as I was listening to this, and also for the last couple of weeks as I've been thinking about Jupiter before we get to Cancer, is the way that we define Jupiter as our levels of optimism, faith, and also luck. And I got interested in where is the connection between these things. And ultimately, I think the question that I'm trying to answer here is how can we be luckier this year? So I want to have a look at how our attitudes to luck shape what we refer to as Jupiter, and then we're going to link it to Cancer. So I'd love to know in the chat what good luck feels like in your body. What does it feel like when you get lucky? And as we collect the answers, which we're going to read later, I want to tell you a story. So, a year ago, I had signed up to a conference in a foreign country, which I didn't know how to feel about because I was going all alone to a place where I wouldn't really know anyone. So it was way out of my comfort zone. And I remember thinking, oh God, this is uncomfortable for me. Maybe I shouldn't even go. And on top of that, I had two connecting flights early in the morning, but I had committed to going. And so in the morning of my flight, I left the house, and then the first train gets delayed. This is London, by the way. And I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the train. Okay, I get on it. Then the second one gets canceled, and I'm 50 minutes away from the airport, and the flight is 70 minutes away. So there's no logical reason as to why I would make it on this flight. And I had no idea what would happen. And a part of me was relieved by the thought that I would miss it. I was like, I didn't feel entirely comfortable going in the first place. But there was another part of me that was activated by this quest, by the unknown of like, I wonder if I can make it. I wonder. And so I shifted gears and I got an Uber and paid 7 times the price. And I showed up at the airport 15 minutes before the flight, 15 minutes before takeoff. And then I start running through the queues and begging people to let me through. And I'm so desperate and I'm just holding on to this trust that somehow things will be okay. And then I get to the gate and I see that there's no one there. And I'm thinking, okay, I lost. The plane's gone. There's no one here. And then I see, oh, the flight got delayed and nobody had told me. That information was only on that one screen. But the universe had got me. And the rest of the journey to my conference wasn't any easier. But because I had felt lucky so far in getting to that point, I started accumulating more and more positive energy around me throughout the whole trip. And okay, so why was this so important for me? Because I was going to a place that I didn't feel comfortable going to in the first place, but the rewards shocked me and continue to shock me to this day. Because at that conference, I actually learned so much more than I thought I would that I ended up creating my whole methodology based off of that. And then I also made truly great friends who I'm still friends with today. And these are all Gemini things, by the way. This was a year ago, so we were in Jupiter in Gemini. And so you can trace the themes of Gemini of skills, information, friends, transport. And what was the underlying theme of the story? It was, for me, trusting the unknown, staying present as things went haywire and resolved themselves, just like a hero's quest. So to understand your Jupiter and your personal idea of luck, ask yourself what happens when you don't know the answer to something. For example, you don't know if you'll catch the flight, or you don't know if, the whole thing will be a failed operation and your efforts would have been in vain. What do you do? Do you start exploring? Do you go on the journey and discover the answer? Or do you panic, freak out, retreat? Yeah. And so this is my take on luck, at least the part of luck that I think we get a little bit of say in. It's as simple as trusting the unknown and as deep as letting yourself become untethered from any possible shortcomings along the way. Jupiter is a process of wonder, not a pre-planned excursion. Okay, so that sounds great on paper, I know, but, and I feel it often in my own life, it's not always so easy to trust and to leave your comfort zone when it actually comes to it. So, to close this chapter of our lives on Jupiter and Gemini, which just ended, reflect on what made you feel mentally exhausted over the last year. Was there a lack of trust in the journey? So perhaps instead of channeling your ideas one way or one to two ways, I think Gemini works well in doubles. Ooh, we're here. Sorry. I think the electricity went off for a second, but I think we're back. Uh-huh. So sometimes Gemini can um, become so unfocused, and when they don't trust the journey, we kind of dip our toes in too many places until we end up being drained and confused. But may that be over now as we transition into Jupiter and Cancer and our strategy changes. So the new strategy that we might be wanting to adopt here is now it's our emotional intelligence that is expanding, our boundaries around what we will take and what we won't take from people. So, in a way, we are extending our boundaries. We get to hold more complex feelings which can coexist. Love and hate start to coexist in more complex ways. And we get to, for example, and we get to sense into how to do that, but also to what extent, so that we're not holding everything, because that will not do either. And for people who are used to holding a lot of stress, or helping others more than you can perhaps afford to, this year is a journey to actually tightening your boundaries in order to amplify your personal emotional truth. How much can I really hold? We're discovering, we don't know. And that's how we grow our emotional intelligence over the coming 12 months. So this year, the truth swims to us through our memories. We assign new meaning to our memories, to our memoirs, if you will, as a result of becoming more emotionally intelligent. And I think it's in the storm of leaving what was comfortable once and trusting that at the other side of the storm, we will find an even safer shelter. So, how might we prep ourselves for these emotional journeys, which may feel triggering or uncomfortable at times? Ultimately, it's by tending to our nervous systems. That is what is in our control. And Jupiter, is Zeus after all. It's the king of the gods. It's the part of us that wants credit and achievement and applause as well. And when we're ambitious and when we're seeking expansion, our nervous systems get activated in all kinds of ways. Anxiety, fear, you name it. And that's just the nature of being an explorer. The danger is that we may overexert ourselves in protecting our old feelings instead of expressing them, or in shielding ourselves too much. Cancer is afraid of being rejected. As Alexandra pointed out so well, and I love that, Cancer is the emotional heart. So sometimes they put up walls where some of them might be necessary, and then sometimes maybe there's a wall too many there out of fear. So what are we taking away from this? This year, luck may equal nervous system regulation. We start learning less with our minds and more with our bones. So, my advice is to practice emotional engagement. Catch yourself when you're detached or not invested, or when you're numbing what is seeking to come forward. Make sure you care even when it's uncomfortable. But to do that, tend to your own calmness first. So I will leave you with one exercise that might just bring you lots of luck this year if you practice it at the right time. Here's the fastest way to relax your nervous system. It's a very simple breathwork exercise. Give me a heart reaction if you promise that you will try it at some point, Otherwise, it can't help you. The tool is only as good as your commitment to it. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, perfect. Okay, so the fastest way to relax when you're a little activated, for me, is the 4-4-8 breathwork exercise. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 8, and you do it twice. So if you like, we can do it together now. If it feels comfortable and safe, you can close your eyes and just exhale all the air that you're holding on to before we get started. Okay, and we're gonna take an inhale now for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once again, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay, you can open your eyes now. I would say I'm seeing a question in the chat. Does it matter if it's through the nose or mouth? Uh, always with these practices, focus on the nose if you can. Okay. So your luck just expanded a little bit as we have our brilliant next speaker. I think it's Alexandra taking the mic. Thank you so much.
Pani, you are a gem. I had high expectations because I know how gifted you are, but you have blown me away. Thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and your expertise. I mean, the chat is littered with resonance and quotes from you, and I'm so grateful that you are here and had this perspective to share with each of us. Thank you so much. Alexandra, take us away.
Hi, once again, it's me. No, just kidding. Yeah, I really love this. Thank you so much, Pani, also like for weaving Jupiter and Gemini into this, and also for bringing up an incredible important word, nervous system, because I am going to take you on a little bit of a different journey right now after returning back to Jupiter and Cancer, and that is everything else that is happening right now in the sky, because the really best thing about Jupiter and Cancer right now is that it becomes our emotional anchor and our safe place, like the thing that can nurture us through these times that we're living, which is important because the 2020s, specifically mid to late 2020s, people from 100 years ago looked at this time astrologically and they were like, what the heck is happening? Like, this is literally like one of the biggest like spans of years that we've ever seen. And I mean, if you look at what happened last century, like that's saying something, if the people who lived there said that. And one of the reasons is everything that is going on right now this year. We started out this year with one constant, which is Pluto in Aquarius, the planet of depth and transformation in the sign of social change, in change in general, technological advancement. So Pluto transforms our nervous systems and our society as a whole through this sign. Now, 2025, and we're just talking about 2025, Neptune ends a 165-year-long cycle by changing from the slowest and like most, chill sign of the zodiac to Aries, which is the fastest, the most action-packed sign of the zodiac. It's not alone. Saturn ends a 30-year or like 29.5-year-long cycle and goes from the sign of rest to action, Aries. Now they're both turning back this year and then fully committing in 2026, but this is happening. On top of that, Uranus, which needs 84 years to come full circle, has finished its 8-year-long stay in the most stable sign of the zodiac to Gemini, which is the fastest, the most change-bringing sign of the zodiac. This is especially important because Uranus is literally like the change-bringing transit, the change-bringing planet. And so, as you can see, like we have Pluto, who's already being so deep about bringing us transformation on a societal length like on a societal level. And I had like a fun project where I went through the last 1,000 years of history. Pluto and Aquarius, those were every single time the 20-year cycles of Pluto and Aquarius were historically speaking significant and very, very interesting. You know, these are signs of massive change on personal level, on societal level. Now, Neptune goes from this very slow sign to an action plan sign, action-packed sign. Uranus moves from stability to a sign that's really receptive to change, and like it's really going to activate so much change on the mental level. And Saturn also goes into, okay, let's do something. So all of this is happening this year, which kind of like explains some of the things that we're seeing around us already, and is also going to show us that we'll experience maybe like a little bit more. But here comes Jupiter, and Jupiter is actually bringing us some rest. It's bringing us some soothing balms for all of this. It's enabling us to find peace and quiet in ourselves and in our lives while this is going on. And it anchors us into our heart spaces so that with the changes that we're making are not just activism without a cause, but really this expression of our hearts, our souls, and what we really need, what we really need in this life. And it helps us figure out what our true priorities need to be, like beyond logic telling us something, our society telling us what are our priorities, who are the people we're meant to be here for. Jupiter in Cancer helps us anchor all of this in, and it walks with us until Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus are fully done with we're changing into one sign and then we're changing back again, and then we're finally like committing to a sign. Yeah, Jupiter helps us anchor in this sign, and it can be like such a balm. So how can this be a balm? Like for one, listen to Pani. But for another, Cancer is all about our home. Where we can anchor is literally our physical home. And that, first off, that can literally be the four walls that we live in, but that can be any space that we go regularly that we feel safe with. So if you feel really at home in your library, going there for the next year, from June this year to June next year, is going to help you regulate your nervous system super well. If it's a friend's house, a friend who you love so much where you feel safe, then that has the same effect. And if it's like out in nature, and nature that you know very, very well, then that's also going to help have like very, very good effect on your nervous system. So these are things that we can do, but home is not just a place, home is the people that you're with. Some of us have really beautiful relationships with our families. For those of us, Jupiter is like literally coming through as a blessing from family members, as a blessing, as feeling blessed by being with family. For some of us, we have chosen family. That has the same effect. And then there's some very, very lucky people who have both. And then you like have the best of both worlds, which is also amazing. Now, one more thing, other than just like spending so much time with these people and in these places, is Jupiter can really help us by investing in those places. If you invest time, energy, and in some cases money, like because like Jupiter was finances, and if Jupiter is in Cancer, that's like really nice for like home related finances, you know, that can also like, it brings more abundance into your life emotionally, and sometimes also in like very literal cases too, though I gotta say this would be something that you would like have to get a reading on, because your unique astrology modifies that effect potentially, or like at least has an effect, so you'll want to know this. But time and energy that you pour into your home and pour into your safe places and pour maybe even into the country that you live in, that is going to be really, really nice. Now, with Jupiter in Cancer, we feel blessed when we have structures around us that feel like they're taking the load off, that feel like they're protecting us. So this is kind of like a transit where we want to learn how far we actually can stretch ourselves before it becomes too much. And then kind of like stop in like this, I'm the stage that says I'm growing without like getting into the stage of, okay, like this is way too much, because that's really going to hurt when Jupiter's in Cancer. You want to maybe stretch out of your comfort zone a little bit, but still like have like the comfort that supports you, that you build on while you're here. There's two more things that I want to get to. One is Jupiter, like Cancer is the most cyclical sign of the zodiac. So what does that mean? There's a phase for everything. When you have Cancer a lot in your chart, working linearly is not going to be easy, because you're literally meant to have phases of rest and then have phases of action. And if you do one in the other, it's going to feel very bad, and it's often not going to work very well for you. When Jupiter's in Cancer, every one of us will experience more phases of one thing being highlighted versus the other. Of course, life has its ongoing demands. We maybe can't fully lean into those phases depending on what's going on, but working with those phases rather than trying to force yourself to linearize it all so that you're productive, or so that you like have on your spreadsheet always like this, like equal numbers, you're going to, yeah, you're not going to have the same kind of blessings that you would have if you allow for a little cyclical workflow. You know, if you don't allow for the wisdom that comes out of the cyclical, because other than man-made life, everything has its cycles. Animals have hibernation, like we have winter in like for the plants where they like lose all their leaves and like go completely like dormant, you know? And human beings also have their own cycles. And that's something that we're especially like, you know, sensitive to when we're women, for instance, with menstrual cycles. Not everybody has that, obviously. But even if you're like a normal human being, you need sleep. You have times to be awake, you have time to be asleep. That's a cycle, you know? So living with cycles is something that gets to bless you as well. And now comes kind of like the last piece that I wanted to bring in. Now that Jupiter is in Cancer, this energy of home, of the heart, actually has a massive impact on the place of destiny that we're growing towards, because there's something called the lunar nodes of destiny, the axis of destiny. That's the axis the eclipses come on. Jupiter is right now tied into that, which means that whatever Jupiter is doing guides us towards our destiny in some way, shape, or form. One, whenever there's going to be an eclipse, Jupiter in Cancer is going to be extra strong, extra highlighted. These themes are really coming up, and that's a very good way you can resource yourself. And two, your heart is literally one of the best compasses that you have for your destiny. And now here's also an incredibly cool thing. Everything that I just mentioned, Neptune doing its thing, Saturn doing its thing, the eclipses, Uranus probably as well. Virginia and Auburn and Emily, they have courses for that. So if you want to learn more, you can go there too. So yeah, that's everything from me, and I'm giving the mic back to Auburn.
Wow, so rich. I just love learning from you, Alexandra. Thank you for everything that you brought to the table. So resonant. Let's hear from Anna next.
Thank you, Auburn, and thank you so much, Alexandra. I really love how you were talking about like how kind of like wild the astrology of this year is, and how like Jupiter in Cancer is kind of like a bomb for that, and what we can do to really like center ourselves within all of this chaos, you know, because I kind of want to like zoom in on that a little bit and talk about like what's happening right now in the chart as Jupiter is entering Cancer. And that is, he is forming a square to Saturn in Aries right now. And basically, like what this means is we'll be faced with some initial challenges that propel us to think and act creatively so that we can find equilibrium with the expansion of Jupiter and the contraction of Saturn, because squares are considered to be hard aspects. They're challenge points, they're tension points. So we're really going to be working with this right now especially, but it'll continue throughout the rest of the year as well. And yeah, it's kind of like an awkward dance between Jupiter and Saturn because they're very different agents of energy. And, you know, again, like we've been already getting kind of familiar with this because they've been squaring each other on and off for the past year, but in old signs, they were, Saturn was in Pisces, Jupiter was in Gemini. But now they've both entered new signs where they'll be, you know, squaring on and off again throughout this cycle. Starting now, and then I think it'll happen one more time in a year from now, I think like next June, but like don't quote me on that like too much. But yeah, to kind of like start off and like summarize like what this energy is bringing is feeling tension between our sense of personal freedom and the emotional ties or attachments that we have, because Saturn is so much about like wanting to follow personal development and kind of like is influencing people to take their own little boot camp journey, you know, whereas Jupiter in Cancer is more about nostalgia and comfortability. It wants us to take a trip down memory lane and appreciate where we came from, our origins, which is like more inward, very family and relationship oriented. Like, who are my kin? Who can I rely on? Who can I pour into? So in a way, we're feeling conflicted between where to press play and where to press pause in our life, because we do want to take some risks and start this new venture with Saturn and Aries. But I think Jupiter in Cancer is making sure that we don't override our physical and emotional needs in the process, that we don't dismiss the signals to slow down and regenerate and process, you know, just everything that entails like expanding our nervous system and putting ourselves out there. And, you know, to me, Aries is so much like the inner child, and Cancer is like the inner mother or the nurturing parent. You know, I could see it just being like this, like very loving presence of a parent. And Aries wants to fly away from the nest and individuate and do whatever it wants to do, while Cancer wants to stay and build the nest and to actually make their home a sanctuary, you know? So with this aspect between Jupiter and Saturn, both qualities want to be given a voice so that they can both thrive, essentially. And it might not involve, you know, what we think. It might involve compromising sometimes. It's going to be a balance and like really learning as we go, between like taking a risk sometimes and then staying with what's familiar other times. And especially like in the beginning of this transit, our inner child might be throwing a little tantrum, saying like, oh, why can't I make this happen right now or a certain way? And that's an opportunity to drop in with ourselves and to ask for support and receive it. And not only will that let our inner child know that they are being heard, but we are also building space for our inner nurturer to pour into what really lights us up and to allow these things to be fostered more intentionally. And yeah, as we continue to work with this dynamic over time, it can really create like a secure internal family system, you know, of safety and healing on an ancestral level. It opens the door for childhood healing and intergenerational healing, I think. And again, like the reason why like I think that this is so deep is because you know, what we covered earlier about Cancer being the womb, you know, it governs the womb. So this is our source. This is where we came from, you know, this is what housed us to grow. So like throughout this transit, we're really going to be like asking, like, what is the source of all of this? Like, what is the source of this emotion, what I'm feeling? What are the deeper layers of it, you know? And yeah, like, it's really magical, I think. Even though like squares, like some people get kind of like, you know, like, oh, like, what is that going to mean? Like, it's a hard aspect, but like, this is going to really make us more like broad and dynamic, you know, with like, again, like this internal family system. And it'll remind us that even though we have to be brave and take steps towards like actualizing what we want, it also really does take a village to be fully supported in doing so. Like, I don't think there's really such thing as being purely self-made or self-reliant. Like, we need other people. We need our support systems. We need our kindreds, you know. We need to ask for help and receive that. So overall, like, I think we will be finding, you know, those creative solutions to sustaining our energy by listening to the body, so that we have the resources to keep a sustainable pace instead of just leading ourselves into constant activity when we're really just in burnout mode, you know. It's like really checking in. Jupiter and Cancer will really be leading us more towards what is truly restorative on a soul level. And tied in with the square to Saturn, it's really going to help keep us in check of what really matters, of what we hold near and dear to us, you know. So to kind of, my last kind of like closing statement, I would say, is like, the essence of this is like, confidence really does begin in the nest that we build ourselves. A strong root system is the foundation for confident action, you know. And the wisdom that we receive in this next year will be a lot about just allowing ourselves to come home at its most essential core. So thank you.
Wow, this is so incredible. I have two reflections that kind of stirred in me as you were speaking. First is this energy of the square. The way that I always describe it is like, it's the same kind of tension that makes a trampoline fun. Like, if we don't have that tension, then we're just jumping on the hard ground, right? We're going nowhere. Nothing's happening. We're not springing ourselves forward into some kind of new growth. And with Jupiter involved, that growth gets to be even bigger. But that Saturn is also like what like pulls us back down to earth in some way. And that compromise and give and take is almost like the gravity of that. So I loved what you brought forward there. And then I also just wanted to hit back on this ancestral healing piece and what Alexandra brought forward with Pluto and Aquarius. And what really landed for me while you were speaking, Anna, is the way that this really overemphasizes the non-linear nature of time. And during this Jupiter and Cancer portal that we're in for the next year, I think it will bring it to be even more true that when we heal ourselves, we heal our ancestral lineage forward and backward through time. And I just had this vision while you were speaking, Anna, of how each of us were an egg in the womb of our mother while she was in the womb of her mother. And that happening over and over and over and over again throughout the history of our lineage. Just so incredible. Thank you so much for bringing these energies forward. Oh my gosh. And Anhart is going to bring us home in this section. And then we'll take a little break and we'll get into the sign by sign. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Auburn. Oh, thank you, Anna. I was just like breathing sighs of relief. I just have finished my Jupiter return in Gemini. I'm telling you, like, my mind is just so exhausted. And so I'm really grateful for, you know, the support of Saturn and Jupiter coming in to just kind of keep those boundaries, it feels like, and keep this focus. So, and also thank you, Auburn, for the setup of those last reflections for, you know, what the transmission came in for me around Jupiter and Cancer. And I love how when I'm invited to offer presentations or transmissions around these planets and signs, that literally they wake me up in the middle of the night and give me this like download. So I'm excited to share and kind of zoom out to kind of zoom in with you in this kind of next transmission. So if you haven't for a while, I just invite you to take a deep breath. This is a lot of information, and we're going to be taking a break, as Orban said, but just take a few breaths, come back to the body so you can kind of just receive this next transmission and integrate the previous ones. So Jupiter is boundless, it's expansive, and it's all-encompassing. And Cancer holds this oceanic depth. And it's a vastness that can just feel very infinite and sometimes soothing and sometimes overwhelming. And when these two energies meet, we're invited to expand through tenderness, through vulnerability, to stretch through our sensitivity, to feel more deeply, and not necessarily to flood, but just to tap in and tune in. And so this transit isn't about losing ourselves in emotion. It's really about creating a safe and protected space where healing can occur, and really tending to those parts of ourselves that need holding, that need care, that need to be witnessed. And so here's the key. That kind of softness needs boundaries, because not everything we feel is ours to carry. We're not here to hold everyone else's emotional overflow. And as we probably can feel the palpableness of this collective purge that's unfolding, that has been unfolding, there's a lot of big emotions right now. There's a lot of unprocessed grief, a lot of, grief that has not had an opportunity to come forward. And here's what we're seeing now, this overspill of this. And oftentimes this kind of overspill happens without asking for permission. It happens, we can just be walking into a store and we just feel the energetic overflow of the emotions, So it can be really overwhelming if we don't have a container for this. And so this is where the medicine of the Cancerian crab comes in. Feel deeply, but carry your shell. Be sensitive and also be very discerning. Choose what you allow into your sacred space. And also be very discerning about the spaces that you venture into. And sometimes that can feel like the spaces that used to feel nurturing no longer do. And so trusting that, and even taking time to take a step back if you are feeling that there's these places that have a different taste, a different feel to it, and that there isn't a resonance. So tuning into that and honor that before making any changes or any, decisions around whether to stay or whether to leave. And so beneath all this, there's something very, very ancient that's rising. This is a time of ancestral healing. It's the motherline is calling us. Those who came before us, the womb carriers, the water bearers, the midwives of memory. And to me, it feels like, and this has been something that Pluto in Aquarius brought forward for me, is that it feels like a time before the Great Flood. The Younger Dryas was the name of it, that occurred around like 12,800 years ago. There's a remembering that's happening of something that was lost, of wisdom that was buried deep beneath the water and beyond time. And we may have heard that, a specific thing that I'm speaking to was the revelation of the Giza Plateau and something being found underneath the Great Pyramids. This kind of memory, this kind of ancient wisdom that's coming forward, things that have been buried long before we even know about through mainstream information. And so I ask you very, very gently here, what lineages of harmony and balance need to be restored within your body, within your psyche, within your family of origin, perhaps, and also within your soul family, like non-bloodline. How do we become whole unto ourselves and able to hold others without abandoning ourselves? I feel like this time is just really a time of like energetic refinement. It's really a time to revisit our practices, our daily practices, to protect our space for those practices, to study our emotional bodies, our intuition, our boundaries, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And this could be a time where we're finding new mentors, new teachers, and even stumbling across, teachings that feel very ancient, and yet there's a familiarity to it. And it may not come in books, but it may come in dreams, in whispers, in water. We're becoming so much more sensitive. I'm not sure if you can relate to that, but we're becoming more attuned to the frequencies of the earth at this time. And we've seen that through, we keep hearing about these solar flares, right? These surges of light and energy from the sun that stir our sleep, our emotions, that are really waking up, that are bringing forward even physical, physical disabilities or illness. The bodies are feeling very dense, very heavy, joints, just mystery illnesses coming forward. And so these solar flares are really activating this, and it's for our spiritual insight, awakening the spiritual insight. And actually, we experienced more solar flares in 24 than we have in eons. Like there's no record of time, the amount of solar flares that we had. And 2025, we will see more of an increase in those solar flare activity. And so that then brings me to the Schumann resonance, which is the Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat. And it's the vibration that we unconsciously dance to, that we breathe to, that we attune ourselves through, knowingly or unknowingly. And so we look across the Earth right now and we can feel weather patterns, earthquakes, volcanoes. I mean, it's happening and we're right in between it. This is the activity of the solar flares and the Schumann resonance, literally waking up, stirring us up, supporting this rapid evolution like no other time in history. And as Pani and Anna and Alexandra have mentioned, this affects our nervous system. It affects our emotions, our clarity. And this is also activating soul memories. So the earth is waking up on such a massive level, and so are we. And and we're living through something that's been mentioned too, that no past civilization is recorded, not like this, not at this scale. And there's astrologers that have gone back 10,000 years, and they still can't find any record of this kind of awakening happening. And so this is a time where old beliefs systems are dissolving, identities built on outdated truths are cracking open. And of course, for many, tenderly, this is bringing a lot of grief. And this is the gift of grief. It invites you to question everything. Who you are, who you no longer are, who you're becoming. And so what can we do with that? So what I know and what Jupiter invites us is to return to that beginner's mind, to come back to the body, this first oracle. We trust what we feel, and we remember that we don't have to do this alone. And there's a deep, deep value in sharing our journeys in these safe, sacred containers, in communities where tenderness can be honored, truth is held, where your becoming is witnessed. And I feel like these communities, the Sky Scholar communities, can hold that container in my experience, and others like it. And so we honor these waters that are within us and around us. We rest, we feel, we remember, and we move with rhythm, not force, And really here we're honing our human potential. And most of it really remains untapped, you know. We're starting to remember what we truly are, what we're truly capable of. And so we go back to come forward. We awaken this ancient future whose time has come. And so this is a very deeply healing time. It's a time where, you know, we're bridging timelines to bring forward these fragmented parts of self back into this whole functioning being, to recognize that what we do now begins to ripple across these timelines of self, of dimensions, of soul, of lineage. And it's those ripples that strengthen when we come together, when we, you know, create these healing circles in conversations, in rituals that remind us that we're a part of something so much bigger, so much greater. And this is how we remember our interconnectedness. This is how we co-create the new earth, one step at a time. And so as we move through this Jupiter in Cancer passage, you know, what does home feel like in your body? Where do you still carry that grief that wants to be alchemized into wisdom? What kind of inner and outer community would help you feel safe and held as you begin to expand? And so just letting these reflections soften you inward and, you know, letting them open the doors of remembering. And so to close, you know, in this vast ocean of being, we come home to the body that holds these stories, to the waters that carry both our grief and our wisdom, to these ancient currents that flow through our veins. And here in this cradle of Cancer's embrace, we honor the lineage beneath our skin, the mother lines woven in moonlight and memory, and the sacred knowledge that rises again. And we set these gentle boundaries like shorelines, holding space for healing, for the tides of emotions to come and go without losing ourselves at sea. And really now is the time to remember that we are multidimensional beings, bridging these timelines, healing fractures of past and future selves, returning as whole. And as the earth awakens beneath our feet, so too does this ancient future that's stirring within us. A call to nurture, to protect, to open our hearts wide enough to turn pain into promise. And so may this not just be a remembering for you, but an invitation to gather, to grieve, to grow, to belong to a resonant community that honors the wisdom that's rising within each of us right now. And so this, to me, is Jupiter in Cancer. Thank you.
Wow. We were right to put the break after your transmission, because what a gorgeous way to have some space to integrate everything that you've just shared. Your wisdom and insight is always so nourishing to me. Thank you so much for really landing this ancient future timeline for us and really bringing it into this quantum experience, not just this linear experience of what our lived experience is when we go out and leave our home, but rather what is in ourselves and the way that we're connected to the past and the future in every moment. Thank you so much. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. It's one song, The Waves We Give by Beautiful Chorus, and then we'll come back and we'll center in with some sign-by-sign interpretations so that we can really start to understand, okay, we've talked about, you know, for the collective, what is this activating in our individual charts based on our sun and rising sign? And Emily has poured so much devotion and juicy goodness into this sign by sign, and I can't wait for her to share it with you all. So I'll get some music playing. If you need to drink some water, have a human moment, if you just want to, journal about everything that you've learned so far, we'll rejoin. It's a little under 5 minutes. So I'll see you in just a smidge.
Shall find a way around or through it when nothing within us stays rigid. We decide the shape we're in. Empty your mind. Be shapeless, formless, like water. It can flow or it can crack. And we design the ways we give. We decide the shape we're in, the ways we give. We decide the shape we're in, the ways we give. Be like water, my friend. You shall find a way around or through it when nothing within us stays rigid. We decide the shape we're in. Empty your mind. Be shapeless, formless, like water. It can flow or it can water, my friend. You shall find a way around or through it when nothing within us stays rigid. We decide the shape we're in, the ways we can flow or we can grab.
Okay, welcome back. As we get settled in here, I'm just going to get our screen share going again so that Emily can take us away.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I'm going to turn it over to you, Emily.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to go through where Jupiter in Cancer is transiting for each sun and rising sign. So I'm actually going to drop a link in the chat where you can look up your rising sign or your sun sign if you don't know it. If you enter your birth information on this site, it will pull up what's going to be referenced as your ascendant. That's your rising sign. So make sure you have your sun and rising sign as we go through. And if you already know your sun and rising sign, please let me know in the chat how these are resonating, if there's any context you want to add as we go. So I feel like I learned so much and just have so much more context to these sun by signs throughout the past hour or so. And as I was writing these, I was thinking about how wherever we have Cancer in our charts is where we protect, as Alexandra coined for us, as where we protect our emotional heart. And wherever we have Cancer in our charts is where we long to feel safe, where we long to feel nourished and at home, where we guard what is sacred to us. And it can typically be a place of tenderness in our charts as well. And so Jupiter moving through Cancer expands the potential and the opportunity for emotional depth and more protection in that part of your life. So as we read these together, try not to think of it so much as a prediction, but as an opportunity for more expansion and growth in that part of your chart that you can like take, as Pani gave us the embodied feeling of luck. Like we can lean into that and take that and see growth coming through nourishment and intuition and protection and emotional depth. So as we go through these signs, these areas of life are where we're being invited to deepen emotional trust and build what truly supports us in that area of life. And we've talked a lot about how to do that on this call as well. Nervous system tending, emotional boundaries, nourishment, ancestral remembrance, gathering in places that fill us up and make us feel safe where we belong. So let's move through. If you are an Aries sun or rising, Jupiter in Cancer is going to be transiting through your house of home, family, belonging, security, and emotional needs. So typically with Cancer in your house of home and family, you're deeply connected to your roots, and you might even feel a sense of protection or responsibility for your lineage or for your roots, and creating a safe and nurturing home is one of your deepest instincts. And so over the next year, one of your mantras can be, I deepen my roots, I build a home or a life that feels safe to live in, and I am worthy of rest and becoming. This is a year to fortify the ground beneath your feet and soften into a deeper relationship with nourishment. Safety is your compass, and you can let your inner life become your sanctuary. For Taurus sun and risings, Jupiter in Cancer is moving through your house of communication, learning, teaching, transit, and siblings. So with Cancer in your house of communication and learning, your words carry emotional depth. You might be very emotionally attuned to how you speak and how you deliver information. You might even be protective of your ideas or soft-spoken. You feel like you learn best when you feel safe enough to share. And so one of the affirmations I was leaning into was building bridges of belonging through communication. So creating a sense of safety for you to communicate, but also leaning into the care and emotional heart that you share through your voice. For Gemini suns and rising, Jupiter is moving through your house of income, earnings, talents, resources, and possessions. This is like the Jupiter money year for Gemini placements. And so with Cancer in your house of money and worth, you might crave emotional security and nourish yourself by honoring what sustains you. And so an affirmation for you this year is, I tend to what feeds me. I grow my relationship with the nourishment. I let comfort guide my values. So Jupiter is expanding your connection to your self-worth, your resources, your values, and what you invest in now, financially, energetically, and emotionally this year will ripple forward. So this is a time to define what truly sustains you and to choose growth that supports your stability. For Cancer suns and risings, this is a rebirth year for you. So with Cancer in your house of self and identity, you embody the archetype of Cancer that we've been talking so much about. You move through the world with a sense of care and emotional connection for others. You also move through the world maybe with this protective shell. You care for others, but your sensitivity runs deep, and you protect that. You feel safest when you're allowed to show up vulnerably and be received with that same level of care and compassion. And with Cancer sun and risings, this is like a year of trusting yourself to grow. Like I picture the crab kind of like poking its head out little by little out of its shell, just like coming out more and more this year, expanding through inner wisdom and emotional courage and honoring who you're becoming this year. So this is a renewal of identity, purpose, and emotional strength. You're emerging from the shell of who you've been, and you can let your softness become your superpower. For Leo suns and risings, Jupiter's moving through your spiritual life. This is the area of life that rules over retreat and solitude, closure, dreams. And so with Cancer here, your emotional tides, your subconscious may run really deep, and you may absorb more than you even realize. And I feel like this year for Leo placements is about realizing that you need a lot of time alone to come back to yourself and to listen. And so an affirmation here is, I return to the quiet, I protect my peace, I listen to the wisdom that moves beneath the surface. And I feel like there's something here too, by remembering that you're held by something greater and letting that solitude nourish you, not having it be like a self-imposed prison or isolation, but really leaning inward to heal what's been hidden or forgotten, preparing for a new chapter by honoring what must end. With Virgo suns and risings, Jupiter's moving through your house of community, the collective, and sharing your gifts. This is also the house associated with your hopes and dreams for the future. And so with Cancer here, you might be someone who's like a caretaker among your community, or you feel deeply connected. You need to feel deeply emotionally connected to the communities you're a part of. Belonging is a really big theme here just for you in general. And so with Jupiter moving through this house over the next year, there's an opportunity for belonging and community to bloom. Deeper participation in groups or causes that resonate with your heart. The affirmation here is, I cultivate connection. I grow by aligning with community, and I find healing through shared care. For Libra suns and risings, Jupiter is moving through your house of career, long-term goals, public life, your legacy, achievement, and typically with Cancer here, your purpose in the world is rooted in care and caring for others and rooted in your heart. So you might be called just in life. You may feel like you're called to generally lead with your heart, lead with love. And your presence in the world is very Cancerian, this like soft but strong emotional energy. And so over the next year, this is a big year that's about stepping into your leadership from the inside out. There's definitely a lot here about public life and career and ambition, but it also could have a lot to do with rooting your legacy in love. So the affirmation here is, I take up space in ways that serve, I lead with love, I root my goals in emotional integrity. For Scorpio suns and risings, Jupiter is moving through your house of higher learning, faith, belief, expansion, travel, and media. So social media, publishing. And with Cancer here in this house of belief and vision, you typically are someone who seeks emotional truth. So your sense of belonging is not just about home or place, but it's about like belonging to something bigger and more expansive. Like you want to belong to what you believe in. And so over the next year, this is a time for spiritual deepening that supports this emotional growth. Maybe that has to do with deepening and expanding your mind or your actual place of home, maybe living somewhere else, or learning something expansive. And there's a lot here with trusting that inner resonance and trusting the call that your next truth or where your next steps on your path will arrive through your heart, not just your logic. Sagittarius suns and risings, Jupiter's moving through your house that has to do with intimacy and depth and the shadow, mutual investments, mutual resources. Typically, Sagittarius suns and risings really protect what is hidden. So they might feel things deeply and be more like slow to trust, but it's the type of thing where when you go to those depths and you go beneath the surface, the loyalty is there, and you need to feel emotionally safe to really open. And there's Jupiter in Cancer is bringing this year of emotional alchemy, where I feel like safety needs to really be at the forefront for you, what we've been talking about on this call, all of those nervous system pieces and rooting yourself in your emotional boundaries. There's a lot here with like letting the walls that you've built dissolve. And so a mantra here for you is, I let intimacy be my teacher. I shed what no longer protects, and I open to receive transformation. For Capricorn suns and risings, Jupiter is moving through your house of relationships, one-on-one partnerships, friendships, contracts, and negotiations. So Capricorn suns and risings, you crave emotional safety in your relationships and friendships, any one-to-one dynamic. You offer this warmth and protection and devotion. But Jupiter, I feel like, is bringing this element of reciprocity to you in this year. So it's a year of a relational expansion, asking you to not only soften your defenses, but let connection nourish you. And so you're allowing yourself to be more supported. You are allowing yourself to be more held. And the more you show up as you are, the more love can find you. Aquarius suns and risings, Jupiter is moving through your house of daily work, service to others, your health, your body, your daily rhythms, and your routines. With Cancer here, you're most fulfilled when your work and your routines are emotionally supportive. So you might already be someone that knows that they need a slower or softer kind of day-to-day life, or someone who prioritizes healing in their day-to-day. There's a lot here with caring for others, but also making sure that there's nourishment for you in your daily life. And so for the next year, there's a lot here about refining your rituals, restoring balance through rhythm, and prioritizing practices that nourish you. So your daily life is the sacred site of transformation here for Aquarius. And then finally, Pisces suns and risings. Jupiter's moving through your house of creativity, children, romance, joy, and self-expression. Lots of fun here. This is a fertile season for creativity, romance, and heart-led expression. With Cancer here, you love with your whole heart. You protect your creativity, you protect your childlike energy, and that also needs that emotional safety to be able to come out and play. And so here, making room for the next year for that play, making room for pleasure, creating those emotional boundaries so that your inner child can come out and have fun, and your heart can really be expressed over the next year. Okay, woo! I'm so excited to dive in and pass this along to Christina, who's going to lead us through some journal prompts. And thank you everyone for sticking with us.
Hi, everybody. Oh, thank you, Emily. That was a very thorough explanation to each of the risings and sun signs, and that gave me some clarity as well. It's amazing, even though when you practice this work daily, hearing other astrologers' takes and perspectives can really feel so much more enlightening. So thank you. Okay, Jupiter in Cancer, journal prompts for inner alchemy. So everyone, please grab your notebooks if you don't have it handy, and a pen or pencil. And we are going to go through some journal prompts to help you integrate all of the information that we have been listening to and holding space for. So whenever, Auburn, you'd like to start the journal prompts, we can do that. So we'll have a couple of minutes per prompt here. I would love for each of you to listen to me explain each of these prompts and which one feels the most resonant in your body to choose to answer. You can have access to these in the replay, so don't feel like you need to write them down every word for word right now. You can come back to this later. But for now, you can choose what feels the most resonant and answer that. You can do point form, or you can do a full sentence, whatever feels good for you. And I will let you know when the 2 minutes is up, so you don't need to time anything. Okay, so the first question is, what soulful emotions can I tap into to ignite my intuitive passions? Or where am I bracing emotionally that I can soften? And when I tap into my inner voice, what ancestral wisdom do I feel, do I hear, or do I sense? So you can go ahead and journal what feels right for you. Okay, everyone, that was 2 minutes. So the purpose of these prompts is to help you connect and give you a little more depth into how you are receiving this information today. So again, there's no rules around how you answer this. And when we move into the next prompts, you can choose again what feels the most resonant, and you will have access to these prompts in the replay. So the next questions that you can choose from to help you give some clarity around how this transit will land in your day-to-day. Where in my life do I crave more safety and security? Perhaps it's in a relationship, perhaps it's a job, perhaps it's in your home environment, just an example. In what ways can I let down my guard? Where are you really closed off? Is it with people, a emotion? Is it something that you're trying to call in? So where can you let down your guard? Maybe you start going out and you become more social, say yes to the questions that feel good. And what do I sense when I tap into the heart behind the heart that transcends this lifetime? So if there is that gut feeling, that calling, that sense of community, what is that heart feeling behind? So choose one that feels good, and you have 2 minutes. Okay, everyone, 2 minutes is up. I'd like to remind everyone that this type of topic, these types of prompts, they're designed to really activate and bring some awareness to these parts of your world. Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer is a very deeply emotional placement. And so if any of these prompts are feeling a little overwhelming or like, oh yeah, I haven't thought of it that way, that's exactly the idea, is to help you connect deeper to these undertones, the undercurrents that this energy will activate over the next year. So maybe take a deep breath. We're almost there. So for this the next 3 options, what does true nourishment feel like to my body, to my heart, and to my spirit? So where in your life can you really call in and create more nourishment in your body, your heart, or your spirit? Which ancestral gifts or patterns am I ready to grow into or gently release? So is there anywhere in your life that you're noticing some deeper clarity, and where are you ready to grow into it? Is it with family? Is it with career? Is it with your personal self-image? Or are there areas that you'd like to release that from? You're noticing a pattern that's no longer serving you. And finally, where am I being called to root more deeply? And what would it take to trust that ground? So asking yourself, where can you plant roots? And is there longevity where you can plant those roots? So again, you have 2 minutes starting now. Okay, everybody, that was 2 minutes. Feel free to share in the chat if you'd like to bring any of your awareness to this community. Sometimes when we write things down in a group setting, it can really bring that intention forward and help you bring awareness to your healing. And again, Cancer Jupiter is all about community and feeling connected to like-minded souls. Again, these prompts will be in the replay, and I really hope you have felt some nourishment as you write down what came through for you. And it can also be good to remember that these sort of questions can take some time to integrate, and feel free to come back to them in a month or two. Again, coming back to that cycle explanation that Alexandra shared and the lunar cycles, Cancer can feel into. You can come back to these questions again and again, and you might have a different answer or that might land better for you down the road. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christina, for leading us through such a powerful journaling practice. Oh my gosh, we've come to our end today. Before we go, I want to share with you what we're working on here, what we're moving with behind the scenes, and what we have as offerings for you. Yeah, I'm so excited. I want to introduce you to each of the astrologers on our referral network. So I remember in 2020, late 2020, I was sitting in a shared office space that Virginia had helped me root into. And we were having our first in-person meeting because I started working with Virginia right before everything shut down in 2020. And I landed in this office space, and we were like, now we don't even have to meet virtually, we can meet face to face. And we started talking about our vision for Sky Scholar, her astrological certification program. And she had run level 1, and we were feeling into level 2 and running level 1 again. And we were dreaming of what's possible through this gateway of certifying and working with and training other gifted intuitive astrologers to come into their own authority and come into this shining network that Virginia has created all across the globe over her years as an intuitive astrologer. And now we're here living it today on this call. This is a huge dream seed for us, and as is our referral network and our Sky Scholar Symposium, which is our blog. So I kind of want to walk you through our living dreams right now. These three lovely ladies you've met on the call today, Alexandra, Angharid, and Anna. In our referral network, these are astrologers that you can work with one-on-one, whether that's to, go into a transit like Jupiter in Cancer a little bit deeper, whether you just want a basic birth chart reading, or if you want to work with the specialties of each of our astrologers. Everyone in the referral network has the ability to do, a year ahead reading, a Saturn return reading, a Jupiter and Cancer reading, but we also all have specialties that we really shine in. And so when you go to book on the referral network, these specialties are listed there. And I want to take some time to really anchor those in today into these juicy waters of Jupiter and Cancer. So Alexandra Volin, she has been a TA with us for a long time. She goes by Astrology of the Soul in online spaces, and her sessions are really geared toward empowerment, as well as the specialization with working with Pluto and the asteroids. Alexandra's lecture on the asteroids in Sky Scholar is renowned. I learn something new every time I hear it, and working with her with asteroids has been so illuminating for my own self-concept and self-understanding. Anharid is another TA that we've been working with for a while now. Her specialties lie in the lunar nodes, this path of destiny, tapping us into our purpose, as well as astrological advocacy for families. So really looking at your family unit, the charts within your family constellation, and helping you understand and alchemize there. And then as well as grief alchemy. We'll touch on everybody's blog posts here in a little bit, but Angharid really has this gift at helping you unpack and locate the gift that grief is offering you. Anna Halper is new to our referral network. So give her a warm welcome in the chat if you're listening. She has specialty in Pluto and the lunar nodes, again, anchoring us into that purpose, especially with ancestral lineage. Really looking at the ancestral codes that we can find and locate and tease out within our charts. One of her specialties is also electional astrology, which for those who don't know means searching for a date that resonates with a big decision or a project or an event or a wedding or a proposal or whatever, sending out your manuscript, pitching an agent, whatever it is, really helping nail, align with the cosmos and get the most bang for your buck, if you will. Oh, look, it's me. My name is Auburn Lily. I didn't talk about any of my expertise earlier. I just kind of dropped us in. I view my number one thing, and this kind of came about completely organically. I started reading cards first, and I noticed that people were always coming to me to talk about their purpose, especially ways that they can make money off of their purpose. How can I thrive based on what I'm innately good at? And that was before I even started working with astrology. And so this uncovering of soul purpose is really a lot more of a reminder and a validation of what you already know to be true. I can't think of a single session where I've unveiled some sort of mystified purpose that came as a complete surprise to the client. It's more of an affirmation and activation rooting into that soul purpose. Also, I'm really big on ritual craft. What integrative practices can we implement to expand where you want to expand, to magnetize where you want to magnetize? What can you do in your day-to-day? A session is a session, but what can you do in your day-to-day to really anchor this energy in? And I also do business astrology, helping you plan your launches, helping you, really look at the heart of the service that you're putting out into the world and what your blueprint is and how your blueprint supports that. Belinda Moore is a highly mystical being. She couldn't be here today because she lives in Australia. So it's like the middle of the night for her right now, but hopefully next time we have a call, we can feature her voice because she is so bright. She's really into channeling messages, tuning into life path, and she also can help you look at your starseed lineage. That's something she and I share. Starseed lineage, really looking at, the soul as this energy body that transcends this lifetime, and what you're anchoring in and how you are here to help raise the vibrational capacity of this planet. She's so gifted in that realm. Emily King here today. She is, a marvel in our business. We couldn't do it without her. She's also really great at helping us uncover and anchor into soul purpose. She has an emphasis on the lunar nodes, that path of destiny. And she is also really gifted with family constellations, especially with mother-child relationships, but really looking at that entire family constellation and seeing the ways that you can stimulate each other's growth and support each other's blueprints and support each other's innate natures. And I find those sessions to be so validating from what I've been able to witness. Then we have Lainey Love, and I actually thought of her during Anharad's share because she has her whole deal is oracular astrology, this blend of her oracle deck with the astrology of the moment. And I thought of one of her cards, Lemurian Water Keepers, when Anharad was sharing just this awakening of the water codes in ourselves. And we'll get into that in the meditation here in just a little bit, but she's also great at unlocking soul codes and ecstatic embodiment, very much about embodying your highest, brightest, shiniest, most sparkly self, as she would say. Her whole thing is soul sparkle. Dr. Laura Farmer is a new addition. She is very much geared toward therapeutic astrology, self-understanding, and emotional resonance. We are so lucky to have her on our network now. She has been, I think she's an original Sky Scholar, and as is Lainey and a couple of the others on this call. And she really has a gift of helping us process our emotions and come into a more embodied and holistic place. Pani, who has shared today, is all about self-actualization, also about this hero's journey, really being able to see this quest that we're on in this lifetime within the way that's depicted in our birth chart. Very much geared towards psychological well-being, that nourishing the nervous system that he touched on, as well as shadow integration, really, holding ourselves as a holistic being rather than severing off and sectioning off different parts of ourselves, really embracing and healing holistically. And then we have Silvana, another new addition. She is really geared toward asteroids in general, but especially Hecate, this guidance at the crossroads. My session with Silvana blew me out of the water. I hadn't really been paying attention to Hecate. In my astrology chart, I do a lot of ritual work, so I am familiar with the archetype, but not really in my birth chart. Her session blew me away. The timing is undeniable. So yeah, really into ritual and mythology, and how do we embody what we've learned, and how do we walk with guidance at the crossroads. Um, and Wendy here is really into lunar-based astrology, soul seeking, and she has emphasis on Chiron and especially Black Moon Lilith. I believe it was her and Anhara teamed up for this like in-depth presentation on Black Moon Lilith once upon a time, and it was an awakening for me years ago. And yeah, just so gifted. And this is our referral network as it currently stands. What's really exciting, so every astrologer that I've introduced so far is available for one-on-one sessions like right now. You can go to our referral network page to get reacquainted with everyone and dive into everybody's expertise. Everybody has client testimonials on their pages. If you want to get more of a sense of what it's like to work with these astrologers. But another great way we are showcasing our work in the referral network and our work in Sky Scholar is through the Sky Scholar Symposium. This is a publication, it's a blog on our site that publishes the work of our Sky Scholar 3 graduates. So Sky Scholar 1 really helps us open to being able to start to master the basics of the birth chart. Foundations of Astrology is kind of like a recommended prereq, right? If you want to get all that foundation laid, if you will, it's so aptly named. Sky Scholar builds upon that to really start to be able to read and understand what you're seeing when it comes to the birth chart, being able to read for yourself and others. Sky Scholar 2 is kind of like a living mentorship style. We look at, you know, what topics are our students really wanting to learn more about out of like a selection of topics that, you know, we specialize in. Like we look at astrocartography a bit, we look at, you know, the list goes on and on. That's where we bring in asteroids and such. And then Sky Scholar 3 is more of a research group. In Sky Scholar 3, we bring our students to a place of expertise in the realm that they want to be an expert in. So we spent those months in Sky Scholar 3 choosing, researching, cultivating data on, doing chart clinics, and then presenting our findings. And the final piece of this is publication in the Sky Scholar Symposium. So out now, we have a few articles. The first ever Sky Scholar Symposium article to be released was The Alchemy of Grief by Amhara Picton, really looking at the way that grief can be a gift, how we can move with the waves of this, I'll say, beautiful, gorgeous, deep well of emotion, this love, and how we can support ourselves through that and how we can receive support through that. Emily King brought us Astrology and the Motherhood Journey. This was a study where she looked at the charts of mothers and their children and saw the alchemy there and saw the soul level relationship that mothers have with their children, and what our children bring out in us as mothers, and what our mothers bring out in us as children. So super beautiful piece. And then we have Sarah Whitridge's piece on Cheriklo, which is the wife of Chiron. So Chiron being this healing asteroid, Cheriklo being his wife. And she puts forward this idea that Cheriklo holds the container for us to work with Chiron, and really delves into it in this piece. And it blew me away when I mean, the presentation blew me away, but then when I read it again here recently, because it's been a while since we've been in Sky Scholar 3, I was like, oh my gosh, this hits so different. So these are published now. I think we have one more out. Yeah. Alexandra's piece on your intuitive gifts and how to strengthen them based on your natal chart. So Alexandra did quite a lot of chart clinics to start to anchor in, how do we see intuitive gifts represented tangibly in the birth chart? And what does that mean? And are there certain intuitive gifts that are linked to certain placements? And she really walks us through that in her piece. And we are publishing these about every 2 weeks. So this is where we are, and everything that's upcoming is we have a piece on harmonic astrology by Chelsea Sullivan, how numerical patterns reveal your purpose. And when I tell you the depth of this project, that the system building that it required, and then the synthesis of that information is truly stunning. I cannot wait to share more on her piece with harmonic astrology. And then we'll be hearing from Anna, who's here today, on ancestral astrology, uncovering lineage wisdom in the birth chart. So really looking at the pieces that we're carrying in ourselves and in our lived experiences and in our birth chart that reflect our ancestral lineage, and how we can work with that and how we can offer healing backwards and forwards through time. And then Jillian will be sharing about the lunar nodes and our life path through the lens of the Sabian symbols, which is so beautiful and so interesting and compelling. So Sabian symbols are these visual tools for each degree of the zodiac. So not just looking at the sign, not just looking at the house, but the degree of your nodes and what that reveals about your life path. So stunning. I cannot wait to dive back into her wisdom there. And then Pani will be sharing with us about shadow work and astrology, self-empowerment in the birth chart, and how we really, the journey that we're on in this lifetime, and kind of helping us to map that out and embrace all the pieces of ourselves. Silvana will be sharing about the asteroid Hecate, as I mentioned when I introduced her earlier. This is about Hecate as your guide at the crossroads, this companion who helps you navigate the stickier side of life, these decision points in our life. And then finally here, Christina is sharing about Chiron's wounds, hidden pain, and paths to healing. And this really helping us get at, what are we here to heal in this lifetime? And how do we confront that? And how do we alchemize that? And how do we move with that? And she'll also be offering readings around these themes, centering around Chiron in your birth chart, and really how to unlock and heal more deeply through these Chiron wounds. And then I just wanted to presence us all back here together. I just want to thank everybody who came here today, is catching the replay right now, is gave a talk, contributed in some way, hyped us up in the chat. Today has been so incredibly amazing. And I would love to hear from you guys in the chat now, if you're here live, what's really landing for you through this? What pieces were really resonant for you? What are you taking away? What are you going to think about, 4 days from now when you wake up? Like, what's still going to be like resonating through your cells, through your body, through your awareness? And then I'm gonna bring us home with a little bit of a meditation. And yeah, I'm gonna stop the share and we'll drop into a meditation here in a minute. I see the chat is a little blown up, so I can't wait to see what you've been saying. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. The symposium is one of those things that is just such a dream. Being able to really showcase our work, what we've been doing behind the scenes. Sky Scholar is such a closed container, and there's so much medicine and magic going on in there. And the symposium and the referral network feels like a great way to actually be like sharing with the world what we're really doing here. These revelations we're having, this knowledge that we're cultivating. Yeah, beautiful. So I'd love to just close this out with a brief meditation. One thing that I have been really sitting with over the last really month. I mean, the card that I'm bringing forward, that I'm about to speak about, was my card of the month for May. Actually, it was kind of felt like this culmination of the Jupiter and Gemini journey, and then coming into this month. But my card for May, for my like year ahead spread that I always do for myself, was the stingray. And the stingray medicine really being about, I feel so Cancerian. I mean, I know Cancer is the crab, but the stingray in this lineage of thought is this being of effortless grace, smoothly gliding through the waters, unless he needs to stand up for himself. And then he has the power to do so, right? So Cancer is this gushy, juicy, emotive water sign that also has the predisposition toward preservation of what it claims is sacred. And I use the stingray in this way of helping us set empathic and intuitive boundary, a boundary that cares so genuinely about the experience of other people and also declares the self as sacred, our experience, our home, our loved ones as sacred. And so I kind of wanted to like plant this here because it's been in my awareness as we kind of drop in. And I really want to bring a focus to the waters of our body. So I'm going to take a sip of water before we get started. And if you have water handy, you know, maybe just taking this moment to be with the element of water, the wisdom held within before we drop into the crystalline waters of our body. So maybe closing down the eyes or taking a soft gaze. If you want to bring one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly here, just deepening into the breath, being with your own intuitive pace here, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth. And start to feel into your root, right at the very base of your spine. Feeling the way that there are golden roots there, spiraling and tunneling out and down into the earth. From the base of your spine, maybe the backs of your legs, the soles of your feet, down into the earth. These shimmering golden roots tunneling their way past water reservoirs, the bones of our ancestors, mineral-rich soils, crystalline caverns. Maybe on this next exhale, those shimmering golden roots reach the center, the heart of this planet. Feeling nourished by the heart of this earth, the heart of this planet. Really anchoring here the remembrance that the astrology that we experience, everything we've been talking about today, has been from the Earth's perspective. The astrology that we move through in our unique natal charts being reflected in the very being of this Earth. Knowing that Earth gives support for these watery codes to settle, to be held, to be structured. And so maybe here, locating a piece of wisdom in the heart of this planet for your journey. As Jupiter transits Cancer, what does the earth want you to know here now? And drinking that in with the breath up through the roots, up into the body with each inhale, drinking in this wisdom. Maybe with this next inhale, allowing this wisdom, this love, this embrace to land in the heart. And from this space of the heart, feeling into the heart behind the heart, that softened back of the heart, letting yourself be pulled into this version of the heart that is untouched by the human experience. This heart that transcends lifetimes, this heart that brought you here. Feeling the expansiveness and the cosmic wholeness of that heart behind the heart. And from this space, feeling the way that we are made of water, that we are mainly water, that for all intents and purposes, we are water beings, though we walk the earth. And from this presence with the waters of our body, noting what we are coding these water molecules with in our being. Knowing that the highest vibrational intention for the water crystal is love and gratitude. What impression do you want to make on the memory of the water in your body? Water as a crystalline structure holds memory, holds intention. Just taking a moment to notice what is already there, what you might want to put in its place. Offering that wisdom from the center of the earth to the waters of your body. And feeling the way that your heart is pulsing out these life-giving waters, this blood, this cellular memory, this restoration even of our DNA, what makes us us. Letting that wisdom anchor there. Letting this love and gratitude anchor there. Maybe sensing the impulse of the waters in your body right here, right now. Is it to ripple, to flow, to hold structure, to lean into structure, to be vast like an ocean, to be quick like a river? What is the impulse of the waters of your body right here, right now, as Jupiter enters Cancer? Maybe if it feels good, bringing some taps to the chest, across the collarbone, down across the sternum, to really anchor this wisdom, create safety in these newly structured waters here. Emphasizing the importance of hydration. and the intentions that we can hold as we commune with water in our day-to-day lives. Bringing this wisdom, these intentions, this love, this gratitude into every sip of water that we take, every moment that we commune with water, through bathing, through washing the dishes, through seeing it out in nature, holding that intention, structuring the waters of our body, the waters of this planet, this atmosphere. Maybe just taking some intuitive stretching here. And if your eyes have been closed, maybe dropping chin to chest, noticing the way that light is already filtering in through your eyelids as you slowly blink them open. And re-presence yourself here as it aligns. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of the astrologers who came today to share your wisdom with us. Thank you to each of you that said yes to either this call right here, right now, live with us, or to tuning into the replay and really meeting yourself along this journey that we're all on here together and as individuals. Now I'm just going to go float for the rest of the day, I think. Just flit and floats around. Thank you so much for being here. It's literally such a dream come true to be in connection with you, to be here today. Thanks for hanging out with us late. Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay, love to you all. We'll get the replay sent out within 24 hours. And yeah, have a great one. Happy Jupiter in Cancer, everyone. Astrologers, if you want to say goodbye, you can come off mute.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh.
Thank you, everybody.
Many blessings to you. Goodbye.